Hi, my name is Brandon, and I'm an alcoholic and addict in recovery. I avoided the 12 steps for years, mainly because I thought it was all about the Christian God and that I had to believe in God in order to take part in the 12 steps, and I didn't want to have anything to do with that. At that point in my life, I was agnostic, still agnostic, and I didn't believe in a particular God or a higher power at all. And so when I came into recovery, when I went to treatment, one of the questions that they asked me before they let me in was, do you think you could come to believe in a power greater than yourself? And I told them, I was so desperate at that time. I said, look, I'll believe whatever you tell me to believe at this point, as long as it helps me to overcome what I'm going through. And through the month that I was at treatment, I talked to a lot of different people about their higher power. In fact, every morning we talked about what our higher power was. We did a check-in every morning and talked about what our higher power was and how connected we felt with it. And it was amazing to me to hear the different types of higher powers that people had. People had the traditional Judeo-Christian God, but they also had God as in a group of drunks, as in the fellowship of AA. They also talked about a power greater than themselves in terms of just the people around them at the treatment center. In fact, the first week I was there, that was my power greater than myself. These people were lifting me up. They were helping me to transition into a life of sobriety and recovery. I felt like I could count on them. And I really felt like they were showing me that with forces outside of myself, I could do more than I could do if I was relying on only myself. And I realized that was a big part of the point, because in my addiction, I felt like I was enough. I felt that I had all the answers, that I had all the strength, and that I could do whatever I needed to make things happen in the world. I didn't really think much of relying on other people and getting help from other people. So thinking about a power greater than myself and where I could draw strength from was an important part of getting out of the egoistic and prideful mentality that drove so much of my addiction. Now, as time moved on, I realized that I had always had a belief in, I had been developing a belief in the universe as a more organic and connected thing than I had typically thought of it as. And that soon became my power greater than myself. And through that, I've been able to incorporate prayer, even though it's not prayer to the type of God I prayed to as a child. Even though my higher power looks a little different than some of the other ones that I talk to people about. When I talk to someone in AA, even if our higher powers are different, the concepts behind having one are the same. And we can connect in that way and discuss the importance of things like reliance, of things like getting help from others, of things like faith. Having faith is something that's very important in a 12-step program, and you can explore that without believing in a Judeo-Christian God or any particular God. You can explore having faith as long as you believe that there's something greater than yourself on which you can draw for strength, for hope, and which you can then give back to in a similar way. I want to read some about what Tommy Rosen has to say about this in Recovery 2.0. He does a great job of laying this out. And I love the way he describes the difference between a religious program and the program of spirituality as I've come to know about it in AA. He says, there's a great misunderstanding about the 12 steps, that you have to believe in God in order for them to work. But one of the most incredible things about the 12 steps is that it can be a spiritual path, not pertaining to any particular vision of God. A non-theistic path, not pertaining to any vision of God at all, or a religious one for those who desire it to be. The 12-step doctrine is so flexible that it gives us the choice of what we want to conceive of as a higher power. Its roots certainly lean into the Judeo-Christian direction, which at first can be off-putting for those among us who have had negative experiences concerning God and religion. Yet just beneath the surface of the words of the steps is a vast space offering an invitation to anyone who is called to grow beyond addiction and develop themselves into the vision their heart holds for them. I love that last sentence. I'm going to read it again. Yet just beneath the surface of the words of the steps is a vast space offering an invitation to anyone who is called to grow beyond addiction and develop themselves into the vision their heart holds for them. No matter who you are, whether you believe in God or not, there will be a way for you to conceive of a power that is greater than you alone. That is all that's needed to step out of the darkness of addiction and into the light of recovery. And that's what's important about when the 12 steps talk about God, when the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous talks about God, that's what's important, is the idea that you develop a conception of a power that is greater than you alone. Because when I was in my addiction, I didn't have that conception. I didn't have much of a conception of a team, even breaking it down to that point. When I was on a team at work, I still wanted to be the shining star. I wasn't that concerned with how the team did. I was concerned with how I looked. And so even when I was doing things with work, when I was doing things with my marriage, I wanted to be the one who was doing the right thing. I didn't care whether the marriage worked. I wanted to be the one who was in the right. And so the idea that there is a power greater than yourself, that you are not the center of the universe, is another way I like to put it, becomes incredibly important when we start trying to break down feelings of pride, ego, and start trying to break down the need to control the things around us. And that's been one of the biggest parts of my recovery, is how do I try to break these things down? And it's a work in progress. I still come up against challenges on almost a daily basis where I'm shown that I've still got areas that I need to work on in terms of fear, in terms of control, in terms of pride, in terms of ego. And those are great opportunities. But when those opportunities come up, I have to turn to a power greater than myself for the answers. Whether it's another friend in recovery, whether it's prayer or meditation, or whether it's talking to someone else entirely and just knowing that speaking with another person and having two minds talk about the same thing can often lead to a solution. Though that's become so critical in my recovery, because when I relied on myself and when I thought that I had all the answers, they led me to one of the most destructive and depressing places I've ever been in my life. Now, I can't do that anymore. I've got to be secure in the knowledge that there is power greater than myself out there that I can draw from. And I don't know exactly what that power is, but I know that I find it in helping others. I find it in talking to other people. I find it in asking for help. And I find it in quiet moments where I take a few seconds to just be grateful and express gratitude to the universe for the things I have and where I'm at in my life. All those kinds of things help me connect with that power that's greater than myself. I don't call it God, but I do sometimes. It's a little fuzzy, and that's okay, because it doesn't have to be anything specific. And I thought it did coming into AA. I thought it had to be something very specific. So I really like that Tommy Rosen covered this in the book. I think it's incredibly important because I think unfortunately people get turned off of AA and other 12-step programs before they even get in the door because of this misconception. That's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow with more. Have a good one.